Welcome back, guys. I think this is going to be an interesting video. I want to preface it by saying something. None of what I'm saying in here do I want to sound like I'm complaining. And I don't want to sound like stuck up or ungrateful or anything like that. On one hand, I've worked super hard. I do all my own maintenance. I cut as many, things out of my life cost-wise as I reasonably can in order to afford what I have. I don't have some incredible job. I have a pretty darn decent job that I'm very thankful for. I fully realize, especially in today's economy and today's housing prices and cost of freaking groceries and everything else, there are people that are struggling to put gas in their own one crappy car, right? And I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about the life that I have and the things that I have. So that's what I want to preface this with. But for those of you who may be in the scenario where you're looking at buying another vehicle, or maybe you already have a few different vehicles, I want to actually talk about some of the kind of dark sides or disadvantages of owning multiple vehicles and some things you really need to think about if you're going to do that. Because when you're a little kid and you're like, oh, if I had all the money in the world, I'd have this car and this car and this car and this car and this car. It may not actually be as amazing as you think, having all these vehicles, and here's why. So to start this off, right, I have my 2022 Ford F-250, which is a relatively low mile, big, giant, friggin' relatively expensive truck that I use to tow my 2017 Jayco camper, and tow cars, and tow tractors, and tow landscaping trailers, and tow random things that I never knew I'd have to tow. I've also got my Chevy Camaro, which you can just see in the corner here, which I've had for a long time, which is a super fun car. Man, the amount of smiles that thing has given me, and this bike right here too, my 05 Harley Sportster that I've had since I was 16. I freaking love this stuff, right? It's what I live for. I mean, I have an automotive YouTube channel. Clearly I'm a, auto nut, right? But is it the financially smartest thing in the world? God, no. But do I make it work and not completely drain my bank account? Also, yes. So that's what we're messing with, right? So we've got the car, the bike, the F-250, the camper, and then my 2005 Silverado, which was my original daily driver truck. That was my only vehicle for a long time, that I've kept kicking around. So a lot of vehicles, 3 vehicles with 4 wheels, 1 vehicle with 2 wheels, and then the trailer. I've also got a little 6x12 landscaping trailer that I've had forever. That's not worth a lot of money. It's a lot of stuff, right? And so this is where this video comes into play. So again, not complaining about the things I have, but you have to understand, when you drive 35,000-ish miles a year, which I do collectively on all the vehicles, and then some of those vehicles, because they're trailers, are getting towed for some of those miles, so the amount of miles of tires rolling down the road, so to speak, is 50,000 miles or whatever, pretty high, of things getting worn, right, down by driving on the road. You wind up with a lot of maintenance to do. And I'm not even talking repairs. I'm just talking maintenance. Now, keep in mind, oil changes and tire replacements. If you put all those miles in one vehicle, you'd be doing a lot of that stuff just more frequently, so that time would equal out. But there is inherently a little extra maintenance by having extra vehicles. Registrations, inspections, certain components that maybe wear out more due to age than they did due to the mileage. All that kind of stuff, does add a little bit of cost and time into your schedule. More importantly, I would say, though, is that when you get into the repair sector, right, this car is now 12, 13 years old. It's a 2013, and it's got 100,000 miles. It's starting to get to that age where it needs some stuff, right? It needed struts, which is a bigger repair maintenance item. It needed some rear axles. It needed a master cylinder, clutch master cylinder. These are little bit more involved jobs than just slapping spark plugs in something or changing the coolant or whatever. So that takes time. That takes money. The Silverado has needed every part in the thing replaced one time at least, right? It's had bazillion parts put into it. That's taken a ton of time. This bike, I have rebuilt things on over the years and customized and done, extras too. But a lot of it's just been maintenance and repairs because it's old and I ride it hard and it's got 71,000 miles. Harley didn't necessarily design this to work for 71,000 miles. So, the front end's been rebuilt a couple times. It could use some new rear shocks, you got to polish it up and clean it up once in a while and things like that. And then the F-250 is just a big heavy-duty truck, and although it's young and hasn't needed a ton of stuff, it needed the whole suite of, differentials, transfer case, transmission fluid changes, and things like that. Needed a new set of tires last year, year before, or whenever. So, again, right, there's just a lot of maintenance. And tracking all of that and making sure that you're maintaining the vehicles properly can really be a bit of a job. It's easy to forget when your next inspection is due. It's easy to forget an oil change and stuff like that. You got to be on your game. I have a whole spreadsheet with multiple tabs that I keep all the vehicles' data in, and that has been super helpful for me. I've set it up where I can type the mileage in and it kind of spits out what's due. And I'll be honest, there's a couple times where I've luckily not really ran over an interval, but I've been like, oh crap, that thing snuck up on me and I got to change that in 500 miles or 1,000 miles, and I'm about to go on a long trip and I'm kind of scrambling to get it done. So there are definitely times where, like, you'll find yourself a little bit stressed out because you got to maintain something and do an unexpected thing. And if two vehicles happen to go down at the same time, which I've had happen, it's like all of a sudden you're working a full-time job. You've got, it's trying to spend time with your girlfriend or wife or kids. I don't have kids, but if you have kids, you're trying to maybe fix something at your house and all of a sudden you got two cars to repair. Like, where's your time, right? And then, with the girlfriend now, like, I've got her car, and her car's getting older, so that's another vehicle that maybe I don't necessarily own per se, but I own it, right? Like, from a repairing it perspective. So it's definitely still, a burden in my life, for lack of a better term. It's not a burden, but you know what I mean? So it's like a logistic battle. Like, you really gotta be the type of person who's willing to plan things ahead and say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna do an oil change in this vehicle. Maybe I change this other fluid 5,000 miles early so that I can go into it once and spend the day one time and not have to do something else at a short interval after. Maybe you let another interval, I don't want to say go over the interval, but maybe you want to do every 30,000 miles for something and you say, you know what, I'm going to match it up with this other thing and we'll go every 35,000. Whatever the compromise is, you got to think about this stuff, or you'll wind up in a situation where you're just going to get overwhelmed with the repairs and they're going to affect your personal life. Have your personal life in order before your freaking vehicles get in the way of it. Be an adult, please. And then one thing I found tricky is tire wear. It's kind of easy to especially on the car, because you're just driving it in the summer and in rain, you're not driving it in snow. It's kind of easy to forget, oh crap, I got tires wearing on, I got to plan for that and save up some money for it, or, just schedule the appointment. And it's remembering the last time you got something aligned and things like that. So there's definitely, a lot of work there. And if I'm going to, let's say, tow the car to a track day, because I do track days with this car, you've got to make sure the truck is maintained to, a point where it can do the whole round trip and not go over any of its intervals and do it reliably. You got to make sure the car is ready for the track day. Make sure the trailer the car is on has all the lights working and the bearings are greased and the brakes in the trailer are good and there's no wheel seals leaking. It's a lot of freaking tires and oil or grease points and a lot of lights to make sure they're all good, and they won't all be good all the time. You're going to have to replace some of them sometimes, and you got to plan for these things. So you need to be ready for the logistics of it. Having one car, there's a certain simplicity that comes from that where it's only one thing to focus on. And even if you pound miles out on it because you've got a long commute and you do a lot of road trips, it's still only one thing. And you can track it easier possibly. And maybe there's an app because it's a newer car and it triggers, warnings that you need to get certain services done, or it tells you your tires are low on air and you can see that it has a flat or whatever. That can make things easier. So unless you're real wealthy and everything's brand new, it can be kind of tricky. Which brings me to the next phase here. If everything's brand new or if everything's super high value. If you're not putting tons and tons of miles on stuff, and or if everything is super new, the amount of money you're eating every year in depreciation is just sickening. So I'm in a good spot because of the age of stuff. This Camaro is not losing a lot of value per year. It's losing more value based on the miles I put on it than its age by a long shot. The Silverado with 260,000 miles is worth roughly the same amount of money as the years go on because it's already devalued to a certain point. And frankly, those mid-2000s trucks are starting to almost get a little bit more valuable. So it's just kind of sort of static. This bike, same story. So that's a good spot to be in. If they were all 2023s, they'd just be plummeting and you're going to crush your net worth, guys. And I know a lot of car guys don't necessarily care about the financial world as much, but when you're 50, 60 years old, you're going to wish you cared a little bit more, I think, in that case, about the financial stuff. And I've even said to myself as a 30, almost, or going on 31-year-old, there's a couple things I might have done differently in the past, to be honest, to make my net worth higher now than it is. And I don't regret anything I've done. I've learned so much. I built this YouTube channel with these vehicles, and I'm super passionate about them. But there's probably some things I could have tweaked. For example, maybe I would have bought the Camaro a couple years later. Maybe I would have bought a little bit higher mile one. Maybe I would have done this, done that. Just a couple little things, right, to think about. Maybe actually replace the Silverado sooner so I didn't put as much money into it. Stuff like that. Easy to hindsight and question your own decisions. You got to do what you got to do in the time period when these things are happening, but it's just a factor, right? Depreciation is a real thing, and you got to factor that in and just compare it to your income. If you're making $60,000 a year, I'm sorry, but you're probably just not making enough money to be maintaining and owning multiple vehicles, especially if they're newer. And that brings me to the next thing, right? Do you have the resources, whether it's money and time and space, to fix the vehicles? If you don't have a good mechanic that you can trust and is close by to your house, and you don't have hands-on skills, that's not going to work, because you're going to be good friends with a mechanic if you got a bunch of vehicles, no matter how new they are. They're going to need the maintenance, like I said, and they're going to need stuff done. At some point, something's going to break. You better have a good contact. And if your mechanic is 30 minutes away from your house, the one that you trust, that's an hour round trip to drop a vehicle off. That's a lot of friggin' time. And time is money that you could be using to go make money doing something else that you're wasting shuttling a car back and forth to get repairs done and maintenance done. And you're spending gas and putting wear and tear on the car to even do that. And like, it adds up when you got multiple vehicles because you're doing more of those trips. If you're fixing it yourself, that helps. That's better. But you better have some good tools and you better have some good space. So you got to factor these things in. If you're going to be fully ingrained in this hobby, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, you got to think about these things, or you're going to wake up one day when you're 40 or 50 or whatever the age is and say to yourself, wow, I squandered away, some of these years. And just to give you some more background, I don't go to bars and drink. I don't go to restaurants that much. I don't go on fancy vacations. I've chosen this stuff, for better or worse. A lot of people would say this isn't worth it. Totally understand that. It's not for a lot of people. For me it is. For a lot of people it's not. You just got to pick and choose. If you're a normal person making, $60,000 to $150,000 a year or whatever, that's a big range, but you're going to have to make sacrifices. Now, if you're making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, your level of sacrifice may be a lot less, and you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. And if you're in that position, good for you. I'm very happy for you. This video maybe is not for you, right? Which is a great spot to be in. However, if you're in that next tier of cars, Porsches and Lamborghinis and everything else, then you're right back in my boat. It's just that the numbers are bigger, right? So, that can go both ways. But, yeah, you've really got to make sure you got the financial backing for it, and the time and the desire and all that kind of stuff. So with that, what is the maximum amount of vehicles I think a person should own? Well, I think I'm at it, just based on how it affects my personal life and the amount of time it takes me to maintain these things, given their age and given what they need. 3 vehicles with 4 wheels and a vehicle with 2 wheels and a camper and a trailer, that's enough. That's as much as I want to have. I would be very hesitant to buy another vehicle because it's a lot of work, and I don't want a friggin' fleet of cars that I then have to maintain alongside of a full-time job and everything else that you're doing in life. Now, if you are a full-time YouTuber, which I sure as heck am not, then yeah, the equation is a little bit different. I do make a little bit of money off this channel. Not enough to really sustain much of anything, but enough that, it covers a touch of the costs, which is nice. So there are ways to get creative about it. Maybe you've got a business, and one of some of these vehicles, or one of these vehicles, is a business expense. That can, of course, be helpful. So there's all kinds of scenarios like that too. But if you're just the average Joe working a W-2 job, this is kind of who I'm talking to. There's simple things that people don't even think about, like keeping the vehicle stocked with safety gear and tools and jumper cables and whatever it is you've decided you want in your vehicle. you're going to potentially have multiples of all those things. That costs money. Some of these things are wear items, so you're kind of just wearing them each out less, so they may not cost extra money. But they could. You know, I've got this whole system where I can move tools from one truck into the other, so I'm not buying 2 sets of tools to leave in the trucks. And that makes a big difference. So you got to get creative. You got to put thought into it. It's not something you're just going to be able to chuck some tools in your truck and they never leave it, right? Because you've got multiples. So these are all things you have to learn and accept. Something as silly as sunglasses. I'm a big sunglasses guy. My eyes are sensitive to light. And I've got a pair of sunglasses like in every vehicle. Well, I'm wearing them all a third as much as I would be if they only had one vehicle. So they theoretically wear out a third as fast. So I get the money back in the long run. But in the short run, I've had to buy 3 pairs of sunglasses for these vehicles. And that's like a silly example, but you get the point, right? So it's just a matter of kind of considering that stuff. And if you're not going to put big miles on things, what really, really gets you is items that age out. Tires, for example. If you're putting 3,000 miles in 10 years on a car, you're never going to wear a set of tires out on it, even if they're the most sticky, freaking nasty summer tires on a sports car. And they're dumb expensive, and you're going to wind up just blowing that money. Your cost per mile is terrible because you never wear the tires out. So you kind of got to figure out now, if you then have that much disposable income, to be blowing that money and not even getting your full value out of the thing that's on it, right? So it's there's a lot of factors, I guess, is what I'm getting at. When you're talking about owning multiple vehicles, the insurance, New York State, where I am, shockingly, has relatively good insurance rates, and we don't have a yearly tax on vehicles like some states do, like a registration tax. Our registrations are pretty cheap. But in some states, like North Carolina, for example, you pay a yearly tax. So if you've got 3, 4, 5 vehicles, you're paying hundreds of dollars a year just to register them over and over again. And it goes down as the vehicles get older and become devalued, but it's still lost money, in doing that. So again, there's just a lot of factors and a lot of things to consider. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely. If you're a car guy and you love having multiple tools for the jobs, and you're willing to use them and commute in them, and you're not trying to hide them away and keep them in your garage 360 days a year, I think it's totally worth it. If you're an older guy with a bunch of money saved up, it's also worth it, even if you do hide the thing away for 360 days a year. But for your average Joe, you just got to get use out of the things that you own, or it just doesn't make sense, in my opinion, depending on their value. Lastly, it obviously depends on when you bought the stuff. I'm 31 almost, like I said. I bought these things over the last 10, 12 years. I've always tell people this, and it's true. I've only owned like 3 or 4 vehicles in my whole life. I just have most of them still, right? So like, I haven't actually bought that many cars per se. I just still have them all. So I haven't really spent more money in that sense than anybody else has. It's just that I've had them a while. So there's all different ways to look at it, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. But you just need to kind of consider some of these factors. So that's all I got to say about that. As always, guys, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.